Here.
Graham-Elect.
Sure.
Victoria Newport. Here. Valentina Hernandez. Rick Smith. Howard Solomon.
Here.
We could rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We start tonight with the public hearing on fiscal year 2018-2019 budget. This is a public hearing, and at this point, we'll open the public hearing. Are there any questions or comments from the public? Okay, with that, then the hearing will be closed. And next, we have public participation and recognition and public comment. We start with members of the public who wish to speak to the board should complete a request card prior to the meeting. This section of the meeting will be reserved for comments from the public. All comments should be limited to 3 minutes. Criticism of individuals is not in order. I'm going to start with Ann Schultz, and she wants to talk about gender policy. Stand up here.
Right there. Okay. Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity for allowing me to address you this evening. I am entering my 23rd year as a teacher in the Dekalb School District. This is my 6th year as advisor of the Gender and Sexuality Alliance, the GSA. I am also a member of the LGBTQ community. Over the years, I have received tremendous support from former and current administrators and colleagues. I am one of the lucky ones who has not heard homophobic slurs slurred at me in our buildings. And when my home was tagged with hateful and hurtful language, the superintendent and administrators at the time extended their care and support even more. Now it is time for me to move this care and support forward to our students, and I am asking you to join me. This school board affirmed its commitment to student needs by adopting the diversity plan and prioritizing student and emotional needs. As the GSA advisor, I have witnessed and heard stories of the bullying and harassment of our students experience. We had a student slapped during a day of silence event because the offender wanted the student to talk. Students who based on their gender identity or sexuality do not feel safe or comfortable in our schools choose not to use the restrooms at our schools for fear of being bullied. That's 7 hours of waiting from 7:45 to 2:45. And these are only the students I know about. This does not include the students who are part of the LGBT community, but are not members of the GSA. At the beginning of the year, I was happy to hear from Principal James Horn that with parent permission, students can change their first name in the Skyward system. This is a nice first step, but it does not go far enough. Last fall, the GSA was invited by DHS Assistant Principal Donna Larson to review a new gender policy the school district was in the process of producing once it was ready. Later in the year, I heard this process was put on hold. Based on conversations I've had with other GSA advisors, I know District 428 is ahead of the curve in its stance to support employees in some of the LGBTQ student activities. Now it's time to take care of our students in our buildings during the school day when learning is occurring. If the recent focus on diversity and social emotional needs are the true goals of the district, so all students have access to an equal education that meets the students where they are, then I am imploring this school board to move forward with expediency to pass a district gender policy by the end of the 2018-2019 school year, with training and implementation to begin with the 2019-2020 school year. If you are interested, I know of organizations and other school districts who can and will help you with this process. I would like to share a handout with you from the Illinois Safe School Alliance, and I look forward to working with you so all of our students can achieve. Thank you again for your time.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, I didn't know who I was showing now, so.
Thank you so much.
Melissa.
Oh, I can do that.
We can pass them over, but she can give them to the board members who aren't here.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next we have Dwayne Brown, and he'd like to speak on sleep.
Yes, Dwayne Brown. It is essential that students get the proper amount of sleep. This not only affects academics, but affects. The average amount of sleep that teenagers get is between 7 and 7.25 hours. However, they need between 9 and 9.5 hours in order to ensure your teen gets the scores they need on their standardized testing. They need to make sleep a priority. Practicing good sleep patterns and following a solid getting ready for bed routine can help them stay on track and boost both their academic performance and their standardized testing scores. In preparation for test day, make sure they are getting a good night's sleep every night and don't go into test day with a large sleep deficit. Plan ahead so that your teenager can get a full night's sleep the night before the test. On test day, get your teen up early enough to allow them time to properly wake up before they have to start the test. Researchers believe that sleep affects learning and memory in 2 ways. Lack of sleep impairs a person's ability to focus and learn efficiently. Sleep is necessary to consolidate a memory so that it can be recalled in the future. Some students think they can stay up late at night and cram for a test. This is probably the worst thing you could do. Get the requisite 8 hours or more of sleep the night before to optimize alertness on the test. Any prolonged sleep deprivation will affect your mood, energy level, and ability to concentrate and learn, which directly affects your academic performance. An area of the brain that suffers dramatically from sleep deprivation is the hippocampus. This is a region critical for storing of new memories. An occasional night without sleep may make you feel tired and irritable the next day, but it won't harm your health. If it continues, sleep deprivation can affect your overall health and make you prone to serious medical conditions such as obesity, heart disease, high blood pressure, and diabetes. Studies have concluded that long-term sleep deprivation not only causes your brain to work harder, but could cause long-term effects such as damaged brain neurons, which, while this loss of neurons may not immediately cause brain damage, it would eventually lead to some brain impairment. 7 to 12-year-olds, preteens, need 10 to 11 hours of sleep per day. 6-year-olds need 11 hours. It's estimated that college students only receive 15% of the amount of sleep they actually need due to extracurricular activities. It's imperative that we get the proper amount of sleep for our students. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have board committee reports and correspondence.
Yes. We did have an opportunity on the 14th to attend the curriculum council, and it was a busy time. They have not held a meeting since May, and this was the first meeting, so things got done like the election of the chairperson that was normally done. And then amazingly, things have been worked on a lot since last May, so there was things to announce. We should be receiving a recommendation very soon on foundations of economic literacy, which is, I guess, scheduled for hopefully some action now or something like that later on today. We're going to be also dealing with something called Looking Towards College and Career Readiness, which would help with the Every Student Succeeds Act Goal 3 of having students succeed better. Good thing to have happen out of the Succeeds Act. Transitional math is on schedule for something which may help to alleviate what Milwaukee College has fed back to us and to other schools that feed into Kish, that there's an old sort of overbooking of remedial math at the college level. Hopefully we can get that so that we have our students, as they're succeeding, succeed in math as well as anything else. So there's no cost for the transitional math material, which is a great thing to have had happen, and somebody found out how to do that. There's going to be a new coding class, and there's something called, there is some change that's going on AP class where it has to do with technology, and we're going to reduce, or it seems to be in the works, and I guess there's more discussion to happen with it as to the technology component of that's a required course, that requirement may be reduced because students are now presumed to come into high school already with at least a moderate amount of technological savvy. They know how to work a phone better than I do. And they have, there may be reason to reduce the requirement by 0.5 hours, but still have something required to fill the same number of hours, something from other areas. And there's a video production class that's scheduled as a possible alternative to graphics too. And that's another item to be talked about. So there's stuff that's going to be coming our way from out of the curriculum committee. Prepare yourselves.
And I was at the communications committee meeting, and it was basically a wrap up of it was a general wrap up of progress made. We're into the idea of the liaisons at each school, and that's moving forward. We would move in with ideas on how to communicate with, for instance, alumni. That's a big deal, trying to grapple with how to get to the alumni, how to get that information. Then attended a conference in regard to that, among other things. So the general idea of what we were talking about was moving forward, reaching out to different stakeholders in the community and how to do that. And we are moving forward on that. There's still a great deal of work yet to be done. We are working with under a little bit of a rock, in the sense that other districts, local districts have someone to deal with that full time, and we are working with our liaison. So we are working with a little bit of difficulty in that, but we are making progress.
I have a few things. I just want to compliment the fourth graders at Lincoln who are in Mrs. Sweet's class. They came over to Mart last Thursday morning and helped us unload the truck and then stock the shelves. And needless to say, they were there at 9:30 when the truck was supposed to be there, but the truck was about a half hour late. They had a fun time playing some games out in the grassy area and stuff. But I just want to say what a great help they were. They listened, they followed directions, and were very respectful. So great group of kids you have there.
Well, and I hope that the next group does, well, the other fifth grade group will be over in October.
Okay.
So hopefully they'll do as well.
I want to say two things, two other things.
So, and then I also want to comment on the First National Bank Challenge. The boosters between Sycamore and Dekalb, we raised $50,000. So each booster club is getting $25,000 from that challenge on Friday night. And anybody who left early last week from that game, Sycamore Dekalb game, you missed an incredible finish. And luckily we came out on top, Dekalb. But it was thrilling to say the least.
10,000 people, 10,000 plus people. Great night.
Yeah, and then I also have, last week I went with Amy Crook and a few staff members up to Harvard for a site visit for our dual language classes that we're going to look at starting up. And it's just incredible to see. It's, I mean, you walk in a classroom and you have half of the kids in there speak English and half speak Spanish. And I mean, everything is just flowing and working well. The behavior of the students was amazing to see. All getting along, all talking, communicating, just a neat thing to see. We do have one more site visit scheduled for September 25th, and there's room for one more board member. And I'd highly recommend you go and spend the day and go into those classes and see how it works, because it really is amazing to see. So,
I just wanted
and then
to,
Jeff,
wanted to mention on that Penguin production, saw Mary Poppins, well-attended, fabulous group. It's kids with disabilities playing in the play. Tammy was there. I saw Tammy. I'm not sure if there's, I mean, I was just there one night, obviously, but it was terrific, well done and well attended, and huge amount of community appreciation for it. I think it was very successful once again. Thanks so much for making that happen.
Okay, next we have the possible expulsion of student 091818 as an action item, that the Board of Education approve the expulsion of student number 091818 as identified in the student's file kept in the superintendent's office for the remainder of the 2018-2019 school year, as well as the 2019 summer session. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Jeff Albert,
Yes.
Karen Millett,
Yes.
Victoria Newport,
Yes.
Howard Solomon.
Yes.
Next, we have the approval of the tentative agreement between the Board of Education of Dekalb School District 428 and the Dekalb Federation of School Assistants. And this is an action item. That the Board of Education approve the terms and conditions of the tentative agreement as recommended by the Board of Education's negotiation team for the 2018-2022 professional agreement with Dekalb Federation of School Assistants. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Karen Millett,
Yes.
Victoria Newport,
Yes.
Howard Solomon,
Yes.
Jeff Albert.
Yes.
Okay. I just want to take a minute and thank the negotiation team from DFSA. I think we had some really honest, respectful, and productive discussion throughout the negotiations. And I really hope we continue those negotiations in our meetings, our monthly meetings, and then we continue those conversations, because I think we learned a lot about each other through that process, and it was very positive. So thank you for that. And I also want to thank them for the yard sign that they gave the board, signed by the negotiation team. So on behalf of the board, thank you for the sign. We'll be keeping this and honoring it. Okay. Next, we have presentations, and we have the benefit renewal rates plan year 2019 DLR insurance solutions. And this is a discussion information presentation.
So tonight we have Doug here from DLRIS, and he's here to deliver information on our renewal rates for this plan year, and he'll be back at our next board meeting for an approval. But here for any questions.
Good evening. Since we last met May 15th, been working really hard with your HR department to set priorities and set goals. The first one was to transition away from the current enrollment platform, WL, to business solvers. and we're on track with that. They will actually take over the administrative roles during open enrollment and go live immediately at the beginning of the year. Second goal was to immediately start to market all of the employee benefits that the district has. And the goal was to have all the bids out, to have all the rates back, to have everything evaluated before we met with the insurance committee on August 30th, which we did so. There's a list up here. I believe all of you were given a packet, board packet. The list up here of all the benefits that we currently have at the district. I'm pleased to say that this is one of the most favorable renewals that we have seen. Blue Cross Blue Shield is offering us the same 4 medical plans we have now with no rate increase. We're not modifying any of the plans this year either. So the dental plan, a loss ratio is the amount of money that a carrier paid, that we pay in premium to the amount of claims that are paid by the insurance carrier. And several years ago, because you have a limited number of in-network dentists, a lot of folks within the district are going outside of the network. So the plans back then that you had paid 80%, it's called the 80th percentile. What that means is 8 out of 10 dentists will accept the rate that the plan pays. In order to cut down on the out-of-pocket expense for the plan members here, that was increased to 90%. That immediately adjusted the claims up. So you've noticed the last few years that we've had a rate increase with the dental, and the reason is it's being utilized. Okay. So our current carrier, United Healthcare, came back in originally with a 10% rate increase. At the insurance committee meeting, they were at 5%. After the insurance committee meeting, they came back down to 1%, but they are still higher than Blue Cross Blue Shield. Blue Cross Blue Shield came back in at virtually a 3.1% reduction in our current rates. And the way they got to that is they are offering a one-time $50,000 transition credit that can be applied back to the employees on their January payment. So that reduces everybody's rate substantially. Okay.
Is that where they came up with the 3.1%?
Yes, is applying that $50,000 back. Absolutely. And the good news is the $50,000 does not count against our loss ratio in the future. So that's literally money that comes back to the planning unit. Vision. Currently, we have IMED, and IMED is under a multi-year rate guarantee, so there was no rate increase with IMED. However, listening to the plan members, they wanted to see several things. First, they wanted to see a more robust provider network, and they wanted to see a higher contact lens and frame allowance benefit. So we went out and shopped the market. The best proposal was medical eye services. Medical eye services offers a $150 frame allowance and $150 contact lens benefit. That does increase the premium by approximately 4%. But we're talking about pretty small numbers. For a single employee, that's 37 cents per pay period. So the benefit that we get for that is a very good benefit. Voluntary benefits. The other thing that plan members have asked for several years is additional voluntary benefits, critical illness, hospitalization, accident policies, things that the employees can purchase on their own, not district paid, but employee paid, to help supplement some of the deductibles and co-insurance for the health insurance plan. Voya, who is currently the life and disability insurance provider for the district, is offering workplace benefits that will be embedded within Business Solver's platform. When a member goes to enroll, they're already calculated, and so they can enroll automatically and easily. LifeLock. LifeLock, identity theft, there's no rate change. That's within a rate guarantee as well. Any questions?
Well, I wasn't there, Doug. I'm sorry I didn't get to the insurance committee meeting, but I think from now on, I'm just not gonna go. 'Cause you got such good rates for us without me being there, that maybe that's telling me something.
Likewise.
Maybe the fewer people we have in that committee, the better it gets. I don't know.
It was only
It looks really good.
It looks great.
You and,
This looks terrific.
Thank you.
I have a question. I have a question on that. You said that people wanted to have better allowances.
Yes.
And what did those allowances go up from? If you have that number?
Yeah, they went up $20 basically. It went from 130 to 150 on the frame allowances and on the contact lens.
And came down in cost.
No, their cost went up by about 37 cents
But
per.
31 cents per stakeholder.
Exactly.
Yeah, not
Exactly.
much.
No, it didn't go much. The other thing is you've got the Costco's, the Walmart, and the Walgreens are now in network where they weren't all before.
Oh,
So, and as you know, you can go to Costco and get their little benefit book, their coupon book, and get 2 for 1s.
Right.
So basically, you can get 2 pair of glasses for the same without paying any more, period.
this is terrific. This is absolutely terrific news for everybody in the district. It really is wonderful.
Do we have a consensus then to bring this back as
Oh.
an action item? I'm sorry.
I forgot the key part of this whole thing. I was moving so fast. Blue Cross Blue Shield has come back and announced that, and they're signing the contract tonight. Kishwaukee Hospital will be included in both HMO plans provider network. So that could have a drastic effect on the employees' out-of-pocket costs for those that wanted local providers that had to go to the PBO and pay the higher rates. They no longer will have to do so. All of that will be outlined and provided within business hours. So when you go to the online enrollment, you'll be able to pick all that up, as well as Delaware was the other one we talked about. So that is great news.
yeah, I was gonna ask about that, because Kish did present quite some while ago, their own program and so on. But with respect to Kish being part of the Northwestern Medicine Network, so our folks can go to Kishwaukee Hospital, which is not part of Northwestern. Can they go to any of the other Northwesterns like Delmore, CDH, or any of those?
Just mentioned Delmore.
Delaware is in there, yes, that's what we've been told. I've not officially seen that, but they provided in writing. I've not read a contract yet to make sure.
So that's something to look into.
Absolutely.
That was
Yeah.
Do the consensus to bring this back at the next meeting as an action item?
I want to thank the insurance committee. I know it's a lot of time spent, but they're really valuable to us.
Agreed.
Thank you.
Thanks very much. Appreciate all your work.
Okay, next we have Project Search Partnership. This is an informational item.
Okay, well, I would like to, I'm very excited about an opportunity that has presented itself to us in Dekalb. Brandon Reuter is our secondary coordinator for student services. He's going to be joining me on this presentation. And I'd like to also introduce Julie Basma, who is the executive director of RAMP. Project Search, it's a transition to work. It's an opportunity that RAMP has brought to DeKalb and would like to partner with us. RAMP is the Center for Independent Living. Would you go? Thank you. As it says here, and we're going to get into what Project Search is, but it started out very early on in Cincinnati Children's Hospital, where it's a partnership between the hospital there, the school district, the RAMP, and the Department of Human Service, the Department of Rehabilitation Services. And what they do is provide internships for our students in our 18 to 21 program. I want to just show you a bit of the video. If you click on the sorry. Oh. Maybe try and touch the screen. Oh, yes. Oh, yeah, we're getting there, folks. Sorry. Oh, okay. Okay. Oh, everything is. Sorry. And, oh. Okay, what you're seeing
mutual insurance. We have a goal to get the intern ready for that community. Project Search is a transition program for students in their last year of high school when they have determined that competitive community employment is their goal once they graduate from high school. So Project Search partners with a business, and our business partner is West Bend Mutual Insurance. We have a goal to get the intern ready for that community employment that they desire. And in addition to the internships in the different departments, they also have classroom time that they work on soft skills that are necessary in any job for any individual to be successful.
In the morning, I'll go to the classroom, or do some classwork, some teamwork stuff. But then I go to ICE, I go do paper to the print shop. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I go to
golf. He really just wants to work, and he's doing a great job. And facilities, you never know what's going to happen when that phone rings. So, and he's willing to go out there and learn new things.
The experience that we've had so far has far exceeded what I think some people's expectations were. You can see their self-confidence just rise, and they want to work. They're happy. They're a part of it.
So I just wanted to give you a taste. The rest of it, of course, is on your board packet. But the taste is that we are, the goal is to provide an opportunity for our students to have 3 different internships during the year within a host business. And in the end, their goal is gainful employment, utilizing those skills they learned through the year and getting a job either in the host business or outside, closer to their own home. This is a collaboration, like I said, with RAM, the Center for Independent Living. It would be with us, the Department of Human Services, both rehab and a host business.
David, I get to kind of talk about the most exciting part of this, which is the student and students that will be able to reach with a program like this. As you can see, we're looking at 18 to 21-year-olds, and 80% of those students must fall under a disability area with a cognitive disability. It can capture other areas, but some part of their disability must be a cognitive impairment. What we're looking at here, I think, is targeting a gap in our transition services, our 18 to 21-year-olds. Whereas right now, we have a strong program servicing students with the most extensive needs. What we're finding is there are students that can function, they have some of the independent living skills that might be higher than some of our other students. And with that, we are able to kind of move students along more quickly maybe some of our diploma track students that are in the kind of our sole program, but they're ready to move on, but they need that independent living help before gaining the employment. We already talked about, we need them to demonstrate basic vocational skills. When looking at how many students, we're looking at 12 students, and it is their last year of schooling. So it could be a student that has gained their diploma and they need that 1 year and then it's an endpoint. Or it could be students that are 2 years into our 18 to 21 program, and then they're ready to move on to something like this. And after that year, it is their endpoint. We have the Rockford Mercy program, which we haven't had an opportunity to visit. One of the biggest things I got out of that opportunity is truly meaningful employment coming out of that, truly meaningful job skills that the students are gaining in these opportunities. And the expectations when they're done are the same as their non-disabled peers. The pay expectations are the same when they're done. And we're accomplishing that in a 1-year program. Next, responsibilities of RAMP. Again, they're going to help us identify a host business to establish with the partnership. Christy's going to talk a little bit more about that, some potential sites. They also provide us with 2 certified skills trainers. So those will be kind of like our job coaches, people making sure that the students are gaining the skills that they need. And in our current program, that looks like our instructional assistants providing that kind of support.
What kind of time investment is involved with those 2 trainers?
Can we, I think we can wrap.
Okay.
Why don't we go through and then we'll answer questions at the end.
So we have those skills trainers. Typically in our current program, we're looking at instructional assistants providing that service. So we're getting that from RAMP. They're certified. And so that's going to save on the end of FTE or instructional assistants. They're going to help us facilitate recruitment of students. We'll make our recommendations, but then RAMP will help make sure that we are identifying qualified students. They'll facilitate parent nights because the parent buy-in they have learned is very important to the success of the students in this program. They'll market the program for us, and then they'll place students in jobs upon completion of the program. And they get funding from the Department of Human Service or Rehab after successful placement. So there's incentive there. And then responsibilities of the district. Obviously, we're going to play a big role in the steering committee in getting this set up. We'll again identify those potential student candidates with the assistance of RAMP in the end. We'll reach out to neighboring districts to seek additional candidates. So if we don't have 12 students at this time, other districts could access the program. And I know Christy's already discussed the potential of this with other district student services coordinators. We could even reach out to districts like Cleveland because they're in a close enough proximity that students there can benefit from a program like that. We would be looking at hiring 1 dedicated teacher for the program. And this could come out of current FTE. And we pay RAMP $2,500 per student. We invoice other districts then for the students they send to us, and the potential there is somewhere between $7,000 and $10,000 per student accessing the program through us as a host district.
Thank you. So the responsibilities then, everybody has a piece in this, and the responsibilities of the host district is to provide a classroom space. So instead of the students coming to DHS for their education, they will be dropped off at the host business where there will be a classroom space. They need to provide a project search liaison or a champion. Just like RAMP is providing champions, we're going to provide champions. They need also a liaison. The host business will need to pay a $3,000 initial startup cost, and then $15,000 a year after that, and years after that. And they also have to have at least 250 employees of their own and have ideas of the different departments in which our interns can have internships. Thank you. These are potential host businesses that we have considered. In particular, we are very interested in partnering with Kishwaukee Hospital, Northwestern. We do have a meeting with their CEO on Monday. Of course, just to say, ask them if they're interested at all. Those are other businesses that we have come up with simply because they do meet the criteria of having to be a host business. Our timeline would be coming to you during the month of September, hoping that we can get your nod of approval to move forward. And as you see, our goal throughout the year would be to work on this and start in August with the project search at a host business. Thank you. So let's talk a little bit about the expenses. So currently we have an FTE in our 18 to 22 program. If we have 2 FTE. If we are pulling out, I'd say I could see us pulling out around 8 students, 7 to 8 students that would potentially be good candidates to be interns. Well, that would then allow us to use one of those FTE that we currently have at DHS and have that classroom at the host business. We would have to pay, I went ahead with the 12 students, $2,500 a piece. And what I did was I costed out what a program would cost for physical service, education, media services, and support services from our support piece. This comes right off of our tuition per student costs. And I came up with the total expense per year would be $33,720. Potential savings, the cost of the 2 paraprofessionals, and these are very conservative savings because we do actually have more paras oftentimes working in our 18 to 22 program, but in this case I'm saying 2 paraprofessionals because of the 2 job skills coaches that come from RAMP. Now currently the student that we're targeting with this program, sometimes we need to reach out to outplacements such as Fox Tech to serve the student the profile of the student that we're describing. And I just put up there, if we could keep one of those students in district, that would be a savings to the district of $37,000 plus. The potential of 4 students coming from outside of our district to access this program, again, conservatively said $7,000 a piece and with a $28,000. And then that would be then the $125,000 conservative savings to the district, net savings of $91,000. But the best gain we would have would be that our students with disabilities could find gainful employment after school. Do you have any questions for us? And again, Julie is here, Executive Director of RAMP. Go ahead, Jen.
Christy, the $33,000 per year cost, is that fixed regardless of the number of students from in or out of the district? Or does that scale?
Which one are you referring to?
Previous page.
Oh, okay.
Bottom page, total expenses per year, expenses to district board money. There you go. That number at the bottom, 33, almost 34K.
That is per year.
Okay, so is that a fixed cost or does that vary with the number of students?
That would be a fixed cost because we would have to commit to 12 students being enrolled in the program. Either our students or a combination of our students and outside the district.
And if it ever happens, so you have a limit, I guess, or a size of 12 students.
Correct.
What happens someday if this goes well and someone wants to be the 13th or 14th and so on, what do you do then?
Julie, would you like to answer that?
Sure. What they found at Cincinnati Children's Hospital is an ideal classroom is 12 students. And so what we actually have started out each year as 13 students, we only ask that we're paid for the 12. So what we found, and even the first year it happened, we actually had one student who dropped. Families move, the program's not an ideal fit, so we actually do that baker's dozen at the 13, knowing that we hope 12 will go through. But we would only charge the district. We kind of pick a cutoff point, say October 1 or something. If they start in August, that will however many students are in that program, that's what we would charge for. So at that point, there were only 11, then we would.
So you have some flexibility up or down from the 12
Absolutely.
number.
But we max it at 12. So if the 13 made it through, we wouldn't charge for 13, but we would charge for the certain number at a cutoff date.
But if more folks moved into the district or came from outside the district wanting to participate, and it were 15 or 16, would you open a second class?
We'd have to open a second class.
You would. And that would essentially double the 33 per year.
Well, but you wouldn't go to 15, you'd then go to 24. So you'd want to do 2 at 12.
2 12s.
Yeah. Which would bring in the additional
That
revenue.
would also increase our cost, just to let you know. I mean, we'd have to hire another teacher.
But if we have that many available spots, it would also increase the potential of us bringing outside students.
Sure. Yeah. Absolutely. We have the one at Mercy right now. There's a student that come all the way from Ogle County to co-op. They find it that valuable.
Okay,
People
so
will travel for it.
Another question, has anyone else, other districts done this yet, and have they seen what happens 5 years down the road with the kids that go through
This program has been running, they incubated it for about 10 years at Cincinnati Children's, and then they started replicating it, and it's been replicating for 12 years, and it's grown to 500 programs. And on average, they get about an 80 to an 82% success rate nationwide, and it's actually gone international. It is now in England, and it's even gone beyond. So this program is just exploding because of its success.
Is it always with employers that have 250 employees or more?
Yeah, it kind of has to be a little city. And what they started it out with hospitals because they have pharmacies and OT and food service, and they've got everything. And so it just gives what makes it successful is a number of departments, because these students do 3 rotations, as Christy was saying. So during the year, all 12 students do 3 different rotations. So we end up going through a lot of different departments. And what you want is to keep those departments wanting your student intern. And so at this point, we've developed 25, 30 potential internships in the hospital, but only 12 of them are filled at a time. And so the departments are clamoring for your students, and it just builds a desire for the program.
So typically you work with one employer, you identify one employer?
Yes, because they're all the students come there, like Brandon said, it's their final year of high school. So if they're 18, 19, 20, whatever year that the students and the teachers and the district all find that student is now ready for that final year, because as soon as they're done with that year, then they graduate permanently. The school district is done with them. And then it's Rand's job to get them employed in employment, full-time employment. And so they are in there that final year. What is your question? I got off on a rant, but, okay.
One more.
It's a good question. These are great questions.
So are you waiting, Jeff? Okay, well, I'm last. So this looks like it was patterned or modeled after internships or co-op programs. Do you know anything of the history of this?
Again, it was developed at Cincinnati Children's Hospital, and there were 2 women. One worked for the hospital, one worked for the Department of Rehab Services, and one was at the hospital trying to get entry-level positions filled, and she looked around her hospital and she looked around at the census and said, there's so many people with disabilities coming to this hospital, yet there are no people with disabilities working here. And so she partnered with this other gal from the Department of Rehab Services and said, how can you help me? What can we start doing? And this program was born. And so what happens for these students going with it is they all come to that final year. And so they will be transported all to that one location. That's why we only have one employer, one host business. They're all transported there. They meet in a room similar to this. They come for the first hour. They meet with their special ed teacher and the 2 skills trainers, and they talk about what does it mean to be a good employee. Yesterday, Christy, something happened with your boss. Let's talk about that. What did you learn from that? This is how we write a resume, and they learn job skills. Then they go out into their internships for about 4.5, 5 hours, and they come back at the end of the day for a half hour, and they talk about it. What did you learn today? It might be, it's maybe gonna snow tomorrow. What are you gonna call your boss now? Are you gonna call them in the morning? Have you packed a lunch? I mean, they talk about everything that has to do with employment. And so, that's where the success of it is, that they learned, that they incubated it, and that host business, the very first year Cincinnati Children's Hospital, I think they hired 25% of the students, and that continues to be what happens is the host business, who needs entry-level employees because they're that large of a business, ends up hiring a lot of them. But that's why there's one business. That's where I was going. What's your initial question?
Okay, can I cheat and ask one? Because you just gave me a word that triggered a thought here, transport. So how do they get to the job site?
That is the district's responsibility from whatever district they come from.
Is that folded in these costs, Christie?
See, right now, we're using transportation to take them to their jobs, so it's a wash.
Okay. Okay, great.
And to get them to school, if you
Yeah.
think about it. So it's a wash.
I'm going to ask a quick question.
No problem, Jeff.
Skills trainers, how many hours contributed by those two?
They are full-time all year round.
Thank you. Other districts, when we bring in from other districts, say or Canaan schools, what would be their responsibilities to the program? In other words, their financial responsibilities. Say we brought 5, we only had 6 kids from our district, we brought 6 in from other districts, no responsibility on their part.
It's no responsibility except to pay us the tuition of approximately $7,000 to $10,000.
It's no different than we tuition students into other programs. Our responsibility is to provide transportation and tuition.
Yeah, I wasn't doing it on an adversarial, I was asking for clarification. Thank you very much.
Those school districts would also transport. So
They would bring
Canelan
them
would be responsible for transporting their students in. Dekalb transfers their students.
Yes,
to wherever they're, yeah.
And how many students do we currently have in the 18 to 21 program?
16.
16. Good. And would we draw from these students,
We would draw from
current
those
programs?
students. I'm sorry, Jeff.
Or
didn't
that?
mean to-
No, I just, you were answering the question.
Those students as well as students that are coming up. You know, maybe the students who are just finishing and they're seniors and they're looking at the transition program.
Okay. Which brings up another subject. What do we currently do for the pre-18 to 21 students as far as any kind of job training or any of that kind of stuff? Do you do anything in that program, or would this then take that? Would this then add to our program of pre-18 to 21 group? In other words, my question is, we have lots of children with disabilities.
Sure.
This would then be a way for them to roll into basically job training from moving out from pre-18 now in their 18 to 21 program.
They will have had to have either gotten a diploma from Dekalb High, and we hold on to it for our 18 to 22 program, or have gotten the certificates. They have to meet the criteria for graduation first.
Yeah.
Okay, because this is beyond
Right.
high school.
Additional training.
Yes.
And one more. How would you track the savings from Fox Tech? I mean, would that be something that you'd be keeping an eye on and giving us some sort of idea as to our savings from, how would we track that? You have it down as an item, a fairly substantial item. So how would we track that?
Sure. So again, we were conservative with the one student. Right now we have, I think, 2 or 3.
Yeah, there's 3, I believe, at Fox Tech right now.
Not all.
Not all are under like the cognitive impairments right now, but, you know, that would be something, I know there's one that I already would love to bring back for this program. And then as we go through, there's more and more, not even more and more, we've had in the past, some seniors that we know they're not ready for life in the adult world. They've been able to get their diploma. They have cognitive impairments, but our 18 to 21 program isn't really set up for their particular needs, or something like this would be. So I think it's those seniors where I would be able to feel that more.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay.
So really what we're asking for tonight is permission to continue to pursue this with grant and potential business partners.
Okay, so at this point, it's not brings back to an action.
It wouldn't be back for a long time until we identify the partners.
So you're meeting Monday with Kish, CEO, right?
Mm-hmm.
Good luck.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you, thank you.
Thanks so much.
Okay, next we have the material proposal for economics education, and this is a discussion, information, presentation.
Good evening. In the interest of time, because I know there's some other big items on the agenda, I'm presenting to you materials adoption for our Econ Ed program. And what I want to do is just highlight, since you do have all the materials in your paperwork, I just want to highlight to you the rationale of why we're bringing this forward, the process that the two teachers with the support of DHS and myself went through to get us to this point, and then the costs. So the course itself, Econ Ed, really serves to answer the needs of the individual, with special emphasis on financial and decision-making. The successful student leaves with a really solid understanding, not just in terms of a consumer, but also in terms of financial responsibilities as they enter the adult world. You can go to the next slide. So, but the real rationale why we're coming before you this year is because the book they have presently is over 11 years old. And in addition, since that book was published, a whole new set of standards for this content area have been developed. So obviously the materials themselves aren't even aligned with the skills that have been identified through the National Standards for Financial Literacy. Okay. So the process was that the two instructors who could not be with us here tonight, the first thing they did, a big part of last year, is they dove into those standards and they took a look at their curriculum and completely realigned it. That process took them it took them over 3 months. They used a lot of their planning time. We gave them a little bit of release time, but they really didn't want to miss much time in class. And so once they had their curriculum realigned, that then gave them the criteria by which then they could start to look for new materials. So there was a whole process involved. It wasn't like they just kind of went online and looked for a book and so thought, ooh, that one will work. They really did their homework just in terms of getting their curriculum realigned to these new standards, and then look for materials that would then help support that new curriculum. Okay. So they've come up and they've decided and have selected Foundations for Financial Literacy. It's the 10th edition, just came out earlier this year. Publishing companies are getting really smart. They're not letting us just buy like a whole host of licenses and then a small classroom set. So you're going to find more and more and more that when we come before you for material proposals, particularly we're seeing this especially in AP, that they're bundling them. But most sales reps will work with you to give you some form of a discount so that you're not having to pay full price. So this is the text, which also comes with a digital platform that they just selected that they felt best aligned with the national literacy standards that are reflected in their new curriculum. Go ahead and skip to the next slide. And I think the things that they're most excited about, aside from the content of this book, and I'm going to go ahead and pass that around, is that there are embedded in it college and career readiness activities. You do the math activities, college and career readiness portfolio that they can actually build digitally as they're working through the content of the course, and can create that personal portfolio when they start to explore volunteer education and training or career opportunities, which actually really segues well with the Naviance program that's in its early implementation at the high school. So it really is a wonderful and natural fit. Thank you, Tom. So the hope is to have this approved by you by mid-fall so that the instructors can use the rest of first semester to continue their planning and working and actually start using this course second semester because it is a semester-long course. And Goodhart Wilcox provides free online support. Rather than paying sometimes $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 for somebody to come from the outside in, they actually do all that support online. And then in terms of the cost, as you can see, and is that they do bundle it. So it's textbooks along with the digital bundle. And it's almost all textbook companies now give you 6-year license bundles. We're getting a 25% discount at the price of a little, almost $9,600. And then the additional supports in terms for teacher and also online resources, they're giving to us for free. So the total is about $9,700. Questions?
I'll go first this time. Okay, so what does the online support consist of? When you say online support.
So I'll go back to the way publishers traditionally or often, what they'll do, like when we buy like a Pearson product, then they'll come in with 2 reps and they'll do a day-long training with a group of teachers. We either try to do that like towards the end of school, so then we pull them out of the classroom, or we pay them to come in the early part of the summer, and then we pay the consultants to come in to do that online piece.
How many teachers do we have that teach this?
This is just 2. There's 2. For this particular text, the way they set up their PD, it's a continual online support system through a series of modules, and then direct online chat support with,
It sounds comprehensive.
It's comprehensive, but it's also just time-wise smart. So that as teachers are diving into the materials, which they already have to quite an extent to prepare this proposal, it really becomes more like PD as you need it, as you're utilizing the materials.
The second question is the online component. In other words, you sound like there's a great deal of online back and forth here. That's used by students at home as well as in classroom, so it's not just a classroom online support.
Correct.
Yeah, so there's a statement in here that I think is pretty big. It says students will learn how to make wise financial decisions that will help them lead a productive life. Get this, achieve financial security. Now, if we could teach them how to do that in high school, that's pretty amazing this day and age. So that leads me to the question of, what do the colleges think of this text and this program? I mean, classically, you teach microeconomics, macroeconomics, a number of other things like that, in a first or second year college course. Where does this fit if someone were to go on to that curriculum?
That's a great question, and I don't really have an answer. What I can speak to, though, is a course like this, which has been on the books for quite a while, but given the enhancement of utilizing and really tapping into these national literacy standards, along with, and there's a link so you can actually click and go into that. And then when I think about ESSA and that whole college and career indicator piece, to have a course like this in place that's really going to prepare a really solid foundation is pretty powerful.
And Vicki, I don't know how many years ago it was. It seems like it was 5 or 6. With the State Board of Education, there was a bill passed that we had to introduce into our curriculums the financial literacy piece. And I just remember working with the previous staff on where we were embedding that and making sure that that was indicated in our curriculum. So I know that's something that the State Board of Education is requiring that we.
You have to have some course.
Right.
Yeah.
And it has to
And most courses probably put it in consumer education, but the whole financial literacy.
This, just, and the course has been at the high school long before 5, 6 years ago. But the intentionality of really, again, from my perspective, and I'm sorry, Kara, I can't speak to higher ed, but when I just think about here we are in early implementation of ESSA. And to be able to have a course, because it's primarily freshmen who do take this course and some sophomores, but to know that we're preparing our students in line with ESSA and that life preparedness.
Life skills.
Life skills, thank you, yeah, it's pretty powerful.
Here it is, purchasing a car, home and auto insurance, it's just fabulous.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Howard, did you have a question?
One of the, Jeff already kind of asked this question in his relationship to the online support materials. But I'd like to get a little bit more specific and dig into it some, to go, what are those materials? Do we have people behind them? Are they 24/7 human beings that somebody's going to be able to call up on the phone and say, hey, I need some help with this? Is that going to go all the way down to the level of the student? Is that the teacher that's going to be able to call up and get help? Knowing that there's a publisher coming around twice a year is great. Glad to hear it, but where is the real help? Does the material all grade itself? Is it material that is usable by the students to get some immediate results? Are there tests? Are the tests graded online? Are the tests graded in the classroom? How does it really work?
So you're actually asking me two kind of categories of questions?
Well,
Because you kind of talk about the support, is it 24/7? I don't have a specific answer for that. I can speak to the other online platforms with other publishing companies that we regularly interface with in terms of support. We haven't had a whole lot of experience with this particular publishing company. So I can't really speak to their 24/7 readiness. What I am impressed with, however, is the fact that support is much more individualized than some of the package stuff that we often get passed on to us from folks like Pearson and McGraw-Hill and Hartford. As far as that other piece, all the ins and outs in terms of how it's graded, I think are some of the assignments graded? It has that capacity to do that. How much interaction students can have with some of those assignments. It has the capacity to do that. What I will also say, Howard, is what I've seen over the years is we adopt these digital platforms. What I watch teachers do, and I'm gonna, not to put James on the spot because I know he's watched this too with particularly our math department. We bring on these new digital platforms and materials, and it really takes teachers a couple of years to really get comfortable with all the bells and whistles, and that's not a very good term to use, but to really get into the depth of what these platforms can actually offer. So it has all those potentials, but will Mike and Scott get to that level when they roll this out in January? Probably not. But as they work with that platform, and like with any new materials, they'll dive deeper and get much more comfortable with it.
Yeah, it takes about 2 to 3 years.
So I want to go to the other end of my question now. I started out at the college end, and now I'm going to go back to freshmen, 8th graders even. So will this text, I imagine that our instructors, our teachers have considered this, so I'm just curious. Will this meet the needs of a wide range of our freshman, sophomore kids?
Yes.
Whether or not they understand the algebra or statistics or bell curves or distributions or any of that stuff?
They are well-seasoned instructors who really understand and know this content and know it really well. I learned a lot from working with them. They really know the personality and the needs of freshmen and sophomores, and really are very tuned in on how to scaffold that information and those skills.
I just looked at the contents, the table of contents.
I looked at it.
All right. So do we have a consensus to bring this materials for proposal for economics education? Do we have a consensus to bring it back? Yes. Thank you.
Thank you so
very much.
for all the work that you put in.
Mike and Scott.
Thank you.
Next, we have the non-business consent agenda, that the Board of Education approve the non-business consent agenda items A through D. Do we have a motion?
So, second.
Discussion? All right, roll call, please.
Howard Solomon?
Yes.
Jeff Halloran?
Yes.
Carrie Malak?
Yes.
Victoria Newport?
Yes. Next is the business consent agenda. This is an action item that the Board of Education approve the business consent agenda items A through D. We have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call, please.
Jeff Albright,
Yes.
Carrie Millette,
Yes.
Victoria Newport,
Yes.
Howard Solomon.
Yes.
Okay, next is business finance, and this is an action item that the Board of Education adopt the fiscal year 2018-2019 budget as presented. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Discussion?
As this budget is presented, Kirsten's probably going to do this because she said this about previous budgets, but it's going to be something that it's a moving target. And so it's, the proposal is there, it's sort of so we have something in writing that we're looking at when we know that it's going to change and we're allowing for the changes that are going to happen.
Right, I mean, it's based on assumptions and it's a budget, it's a forecast, we're looking at a plan, so. We work, yeah, it moves pretty frequently.
So putting this into place actually is not a commitment of cash, it's a commitment of plans to make that cash.
Right, and we're required to do so by the State Board of Education.
Yeah. All right, roll call, please. Oh, sorry.
I can go real quickly.
Yeah, let's go through this.
I'll just real quickly go through just some of the changes that we had from the tentative budget. So if you want to go to the next slide here. So basically, we had an increase in state revenue last time when we looked at the tentative budget. We didn't know what in fiscal year 19 additional funding was going to be for the evidence-based funding, state funding. And we did find out that we are going to get an additional 2.9 million. So that's included in the revenue, state revenue. So we'll be getting total evidence-based funding dollars of just a little bit over $28 million.
Can you clarify, when you say we're getting an extra, what do you mean by that? Are we just getting a double payment in your?
We're receiving it. I mean, meaning that we will be receiving $28.6 million from the state for evidence-based funding, which we've already started to receive. And we receive those funds twice a month. So right now we're scheduled to receive that. We are receiving those. Even last year when we didn't even know what that number was specifically, and we got an additional 2.8 million. They actually paid us those additional 2.8 million like the last 3 payments of the year.
Okay, so it just came on the back end and then
Yeah.
we get, okay. So we didn't get 2 for 1 year.
Oh, no. We're not going to get 2 in 1 year. This is an additional 2.8 from what we received last year.
Okay, I just want to clarify that we weren't getting a double payment here.
No. That's just the additional funding that they've allocated.
And I also want to ask a question in the sense that, I mean, it is my understanding that this is a one-time addition, and then conditions for that change over the next several years?
It'll change. It's not necessarily a one-time increase. It just depends each year when they go through the calculation for the evidence-based funding. And depending on what tier we end up being in each year, there will be additional funds allocated. Well, if the state budgets for those on a year basis. So really that's the determination. I mean, the state has their base funding, and then the additional dollars is based on the additional dollars the state is going to put into the pool that will be distributed throughout all the districts based on their funding.
I'm going to add to that question in just a second. It is not your understanding that this is the criteria that we moved into, which is that we are zoned in various areas and we fit into a particular zone.
Right.
That criteria is not going to be conditional next year or the year following, that was not written into the into that particular assumption, or are there not assumptions made for what we have to perform in order to get that money next year, or?
Not at this point. No, I mean, it's really just based on every year when they do that calculation. Because that's how the legislation was written. I mean, the whole purpose of it is to get all districts on an even playing field. So to bring those districts that are in the tier 1, which we are in, to bring them up to the same point as other districts. So really the whole point of that funding model is equity and allocation to the districts that need it.
Okay.
So it really just depends on what the state is going to budget for it on it.
Are there any legal restraints from us actually turning around some of this $28 million worth of money that we didn't have last year and bringing it back to a reduction in property taxes, because one of the things that was the incentive for this was property tax was paying too much of the school budget. So if we wanted to take some of this and say, okay, we can do what we need to do, could we ever get any of it back to a reduction in the property tax?
Can I answer that? Part of the formula, your local ability to pay is part of the formula. But the other part of the formula is your free reduced lunch population, and many other, your special education population, your ELL population, and many, many other factors. Again, a model school was designed, and they're applying each district to that model school, and the districts that are like us in tier 1, they're making the statement with the 2.8 million that we received that that's money that you need to come up to more adequacy. And so that dollars, now to your point, there's other dollars I think down the road that we can talk about using towards bond payments and reducing bond and interest, but this money was not intended for that. It was intended for educational purposes.
Thank you.
So again, just a reminder, we're still owed about 1.4 million from last fiscal year 17-18. That has not been incorporated in this budget at all. We're just staying conservative. Talk out there that we hopefully we'll get that by the end of this calendar year, and if we do, that's just an additional money to receive. But right now, we don't have it budgeted for us to stay conservative with that number. And the other change to the tentative budget is expenditures. We did add additional dollars to take into consideration the ratification of the assistance contract that we just did. So that was additional about $390,000. Next slide. I won't go through this again, but basically this is just really kind of how we started with where we were at in evidence-based funding. We were at 22.8 million in fiscal 17, and now we're at 28.6 million. So just kind of the progression of how we receive those funds, since that's a big part of our state funding. The next slide is a summary of where we're at now. So we've got operating funds revenue of about 92 million, expenditures of about 87 million. So looking at a surplus of just shy of $5 million for this fiscal year. And then the next slide gives you a brief history of where we've been and how we're looking. And it's nice to see our line kind of ramping up a little bit. So hopefully we'll stay on that track as well. So. And then just real quickly, because there's always budget considerations that we want to keep in our line of sight. Evidence-based funding, we are required to do a spending plan. You can go to the next slide here. This is something we just received notification from the state that we do have to do a spending plan. I think that's something we've mentioned before, that they're not just going to give us 28 million and say, go for it. They're going to want to know how we're spending it. So we're looking at those processes right now and guidance from the state in doing that. There's still talk out there about potential property tax freezes and then also shifting some of those pension payments to local districts. It's been somewhat quiet because of the election cycle, but we anticipate that talk will start getting some chatter after the election. And then also the state is still has some delayed payments. There's still about a $7.3 billion backlog as of the 12th. So they still have some cash flow issues. Something we always keep in our radar.
So I want to clarify there that money that you say we have in surplus, 5, somewhere in that neighborhood, right?
Right.
We have improvements. Tammy has all sorts of a backlog of things that we have on our list of things that need to be done that we're not doing in schools at this point because of money issues. So that money that is so-called extra money is really not extra money. It can be allocated to things that we need to be doing without drawing from our reserve.
Right, exactly. We're going to do those this year, or if we don't, it just goes into our reserve so we
to be used for those things later. So It's not like we don't have things to do. We've been holding off on doing things for money issues. So,
right.
So
right.
I just want to clarify.
Jeff,
anybody saying, oh my goodness, there's $5 million extra that we can now sit down and do something with other than improving our schools. And Carrie, this is something.
Going back to the FFAC, the subcommittee which I chaired, of how to spend the $21 million, technically construction grant, but was allowed to be used for other purposes some years ago now. The subcommittee determined we could have sunk all $21 million into brick and mortar facilities and various kinds of things, right? Ultimately, 10 million went to the fund balance. How much went to the one-to-one program, I forget now. But anyway, we divvied it up, and it went to various places. But it would have been real easy to take this, which is all of our buildings, and this plan is now old, needs to be updated, but it would have been real easy to sink 10 or $20 million. Into long term.
And if that projected, if our projections are true and we finish the year with, $4 or $5 million, then, that's a discussion that does go to the FFAC, looking at our fund balances, and Tammy's going to present in a moment about the master facility plan, that, then we start looking at our prioritized list of things that we need to do. And
had on the list
that we've had on the list for a long time, and are we in a position where we can start spending some fund balance towards those things? So
which we've been very, very cautious about spending over the last several years, and maybe that might give us a little bit more to expand with our schools. I see schools, I go to the schools and I see we've got projects that have been in the hopper for some time, and people have been patient, but it's not like it doesn't need to be done.
And if you defer projects for long enough, then they become more expensive to fix. So,
just wanted to clarify on that.
Okay, one more question. So Cindy, on the chart that shows our famous fund balance revenue expense ratio, so the change of the slope now going up substantially, is that pretty much all due to the new method of calculating the state funding?
I would say yes, because now we're not being prorated for general state aid. So since they've changed that and they gave us basically the dollars holding us harmless is really what they're saying, okay, you're not going to ever receive, well, not ever, but you shouldn't receive anything less than you received the previous year. That's the whole basis of that evidence-based funding model. So I would say yes, that makes a huge difference.
So the thing that concerns me is that it looks really rosy right now, but it's all based on politics.
And that's why we have to be.
We haven't done anything structurally, fundamentally different than we have been doing for years. And that slope was down, down, down for many years. And now it's starting to go up, up, up. But that's because we traded in the 6119 GSA payment for this new calculation, which is taking more money away from some other part of Illinois and bringing it here. Because we have the need according to their calculation.
But I think we've been also fiscally responsible.
Yeah.
We've been very thoughtful and careful when we knew those years were low.
So what I'm saying is, as I understand it, this is not something that we have locally changed greatly. It's not something that's within our power to easily change, say property tax rates, expansion of the local economy, any of that. But rather this is Springfield, and the State Board of Education and so on, determining that there's a more equitable way to distribute the monies that the state has collected from the whole state back to, in this case, our district.
Right. Okay. Roll call, please.
Karen Millett,
Yes.
Victoria Newport,
Yes.
Howard Solomon,
Yes.
Dekalb.
Yes.
Next, we have
Thank you, Cindy.
tax rate objection number 2017 TX23 settlement. This is an action item that the Board of Education move to approve the settlement of number 2017 TX23 tax rate objection case in the principal sum of $155,000. We have a motion?
So move.
There's a second?
Second.
Okay.
Discussion on the issue?
No. Roll call, please.
Howard Solomon,
No.
Dekalb,
Yes.
Karen Millett,
Yes.
Victoria Newport.
Yes. And next, we have approval of DHS course fee changes for 2019-2020. And this is an informational item.
Okay, so essentially what I'm asking for is to increase the course fees for a certain number of our math classes, Algebra 2 and beyond, by $5. And really what it comes down to is to offset the cost of these. It's a TI-84. We do issue these to each of our students enrolled in Algebra 2 or above. This little device here costs about $120, $130. So the district purchased a calculator for each of the students about 10 years ago. We have a couple of different things happening. We have increased enrollment at the high school. We also have more students taking Algebra 2 and above, and these calculators are getting older. So we're asking for an additional $5 to be added. So it's $15. For most of our kids, they take Algebra 2 as juniors, which means that for $30, they would have use of a $130 calculator the duration of their high school career. For students who are a little bit more on an advanced track, that would be 3 years, $15 a year, or $45 to use a $130 calculator.
Any questions?
That thing's 3 times as big as the ones I use. Why?
Well, they do have, it is a graphing calculator, so you can do more complex functioning on it. And it is, where they have the corner market is this is approved by both the ACT and the SAT as one of the only devices. This can do what this can do. I can get the same functions on here. However, I cannot use this on the SAT because it gives me access to World Wide Web.
Corner of the market, sort of.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
All right, so do we bring this back for approval at the next meeting for the consensus? Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, next we have the 10-year life safety survey, and this is an informational discussion item. Carson.
As you were just previously talking about, the master facility plan for the district has not been completely updated since 2009. We've been doing annual updates just on dollar amounts and identification of projects that need to be done, but not into the full complexity of what we did in 2009. So our architect was involved in that in 2009, and what I'm presenting tonight is that we contract with the architect again to update the 10-year life safety survey for the entire district, and it would include a roof survey because a lot of our roofs are in need of replacement, and it would show all the ages and the time frame for those replacement projects. And in addition, in 2019, next year, we will be in need of doing our 10-year life safety survey, which is required by ISB for Cortland. And I'm recommending we do Cortland and the high school at the same time, so that we only have 2 schedules running, just Cortland High School and starting in 19, and then we'll have the other one again in 2027 for the rest of the district. So between the two, contracting with the architect, originally the quote to do this would have been $58,000 for both projects. And instead what it would be is they're offering, if we do contract on both levels for both plans, it would be $54,000, so $4,000 savings. Again, the 10-year life safety surveys are required. We have no choice in those. They identify any concerns and violations and that we correct. So that one, and that portion of that is originally was $38,000 for the high school in Cortland.
Questions?
I don't know where to start. I'm just be quiet.
Okay.
Well, the only basic one I have is, we're going to be talking about the RFPs for internship. We worked with R.L. Johnson for quite a while, and we're bound by the State Board of Education to do construction and so on projects in a certain way, unlike municipalities that can do it in different ways. So I just kind of chafe at the notion that we're stuck with always using what we're mandated to do, and often have wondered, is there anyone better than R.L. Johnson? Don't know that there's anything wrong, but we constantly go back to the same situation. I sometimes wonder, could we do an RFP for you've done sort of that here, right? But
well, we always have the option to do an RFP should the board like us to in regards to the professional relationship with the architect. In regards to past relationship, we have had no concerns with Richard L. Johnson in regards to performance, turnaround, and as well as fees. So it is something that I have discussed previously with Jamie. At this point, we weren't looking to do that from an architectural services.
Yeah. For this particular project, I don't think it's an issue. But what I do think about is, most recently the dugouts at the high school, previously the wall or whatever tower falling down over the what's now Founders, and other large cost items, that over the years have turned out to be significant to the district in terms of cost. And often, you will find out now with the dugouts, I guess, but often you can't go back very far at least, and recover costs. And that's what makes me think about, always working with the same firm or always working under the same set of standards, which I know we can't do much about the state and looking in and so on, but.
I would also say that for these two projects that are being proposed, Richard Johnson has been working for the district since 2009 in a variety of capacities. When I started, it was on smaller projects while there were other architects involved, and have since worked on a more regular basis for us. To contract with them for these two services, they know our buildings through and through. If I were to go outside to a different architect, it would be at an increased cost, and I'm not even sure it would be as thorough as what we would see.
The cost here is not big enough that you gain anything by, they've been a big learning curve, those from outside.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, I did. Carrie mentioned two projects, the baseball and dugouts and the wall thing at Founders. Were those previously noticed as something that was going to happen? Did we have any foresight about that was developed out of the last plan that told us that these things were going to impact us as they did?
The tower at Founders, there were cracks that were identified, but not to the level that there were structural concerns back at that point. That recommendations were made to address it. The dugouts were not in existence in 2009 and deteriorated pretty rapidly to the point that it had to be addressed. And I would like to say for both of those projects, that those were not designed, or Richard L. Johnson was not part of either of those. Those were different architects involved with both of those projects that had to be corrected.
The previous inspection and planning, did that do with Founders everything that it needed to do?
I honestly can't say specifically that there were violations noted, because these are life safety violations. And at that point, that was not at a level of concern, I would say, that it was brought forth until a structural engineer came in and identified that the cracks and the shifting were at a point that we had to deal with that immediately.
Thank you.
Right. Do we have a consensus to bring back the 10-year life safety survey as an action item at the next meeting?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. So next we have new business and administration, and this is a request for proposal, RFP, and qualifications for board attorney and legal services. This is an action item. That the Board of Education approve the RFP for a board attorney and utilize BOE Board of Education Policy 2:160-E as guidance during the process. Do we have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Any discussion?
As we go looking for these attorneys, we will allow ourselves some flexibility that we have had to keep some of the attorney. Is this a all at once type of approach, or can we address the flexibility that we're going to try to maintain? Because I know we like many of the people that we know.
And the way it's written is either or. That we can review this as a client who comes in and takes it all, or that as we review, we can continue to piece it out as we see fit.
Yeah, one of the problems, and Howard, I think maybe you're thinking of this, I don't know, but firms change their principles and so on, and their attorneys available. So you almost have to have this written in, or you're stuck. If somebody leaves a firm, or they get somebody that's not as well versed in something, we need the flexibility because of the way the firms operate.
And that's how it's written. It's flexible so that we can pick and choose.
Yeah.
And I want to clarify this with Cindy. Cindy, this, and also to Jamie, the situation is that we can not only do an all or nothing on a particular firm, but we can take a person out of that particular firm and work with them for a particular issue.
Yes,
Right?
that's what we're doing now.
We're doing, right. We're going to continue with that program of going to people that and we'll take into consideration that we currently are working well with somebody, and obviously that's something that we'll get consideration too. So it's basically a wide-ranging review of people's capabilities. I mean, law firms' capabilities and who they work with and what they're able to offer us as far as pricing, other issues related to that, correct?
Right, yeah, and it's not all about the price either, obviously, in something like this, it's about qualifications, capabilities, references.
Absolutely.
What sort of skill set they have working with school districts.
So it's very far-reaching. This is a
Yes.
very far-reaching program to try to look at new people.
Yeah,
Really?
absolutely.
Yes. Cindy, will you bring to us from the process links or bios or something? to
Oh,
that
yeah, that's
effect?
part of the RFP,
Okay,
yes.
so that we can, before we vote, we can
Oh,
review
absolutely.
some of the
Yeah.
people involved.
Great.
Okay, thanks.
This is true.
Okay, roll call please.
Jeff Albrecht,
Yes.
Gary Millet,
Yes.
Victoria Newport,
Yes.
Howard Zalman.
Yes.
And with that, the meeting will be adjourned. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Next